part 6 of the roadmap to mortgage success, where I talk about what you need to put in place to ensure you have a streamlined and a straight-through process to getting your mortgage. Mortgage in itself could be a difficult process altogether, but this would help you to break it down and to know what milestone you need to focus on. So today we will be talking about the full application. We've talked previously in the last series about your decision in principle. This is where you get more confidence with a specific lender, what they can give for you. So taking that on, that would allow you to then go to, decide on what property you want to buy and then putting an offer in based on where your decision in principle have given you in terms of this is how much you can borrow. So a full application, I have to warn you, would take a bit more time compared to the decision in principle, because the lenders would expect to get more information from you, and this will be very important. So it's quite important you answer every question as best as you can and as honest as possible, because this might come to bite you. So the full application itself would then request you to submit some documentation. In anything within the mortgage process, your documentation is quite an important thing. So I'm going to talk about that briefly. One of the key documentation you need is your proof of ID and your proof of address. Usually your advisor, if they're seeing you face to face, would need they'll be able to accept that. If not, they would need a certified copy. So that's quite an important thing, and you can certify it with other parties, but you might want to send them to your mortgage broker for them to actually see the original copy, and they will return that to you. So proof of ID is quite important, especially because of to avoid any money laundering issues. So that's quite an important thing. The other thing you need to prove is your income, and the simple way people would prove their income is if you're employed, you use your pay slip. If you're not employed, if you are working as a contractor, you have your own business, either you prove that with your business income. So that is prove that you have a contract, your contract of employment. That could be something that will be requested. But at the same time, you need to have maybe 3 to 6 months bank statements of your personal account, and if you are in business, of your business account. These are quite important things, so you have to bear that in mind. So I always tell people it's knowing what to do and planning ahead of that, and that would help them to make this whole process, make it much more simple. So if you don't know all this is time you start to take a note and get all this prepared ahead of time. So your proof of ID, your documentation, it's very important. During your mortgage full application, you would need to come up with this, and it's important that you get it right first time. If you delay with your documentation, that means they would not take your application into underwriting, and that would mean you will be delaying the whole process essentially. So that's the bit about mortgage application. But what the outcome we expect from mortgage application is to get an offer. But before we talk about an offer, some lenders might ask for additional documentation through the process, or they have some questions to clarify. So be prepared for that as well. It's not usually the case. When you submit, then everything goes through. But if you're using the right mortgage lender, that will be reduced. So they would have preempt some other questions or some other requirements that the lender would need. So they would have packaged that as part of the deal. So let's imagine every of that goes through. So you have done your full application. They have they've checked that the documentation is right, and the next thing a lender would do is to send out for a surveyor for valuation. I'm going to talk about that in the next series, which is quite an important thing. So watch out for the next series. So thank you very much. This is talking about the full application, what you need to be aware of, the time it will take, but more importantly, the documentation you would require. Hope that helps. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'm happy to answer your question. Thank you. See you in other series. Cheers.